Love is not about chasing someone until they turn around. It's about planting yourself so firmly in their heart that no matter how far they try to run, they still feel your presence. An avoidant may try to create distance, may pull away, may even convince themselves they don't need you. But here's the truth. There are ways to live, to breathe, and to shine that will make them think about you even in their silence. Remember this: distance doesn't erase connection. It only magnifies what was truly felt. So let's dive into the 7 things that force an avoidant to think about you. 1. The power of mystery, 500 plus words. There's something magnetic about mystery, isn't there? Think about the books you couldn't put down, the movies that left you wide-eyed at the end, the people who walked into your life and left you wondering, who are they really? Mystery captures us because it ignites curiosity. And when it comes to relationships, especially with someone avoidant, mystery can be the spark that keeps you in their mind even when they try to distance themselves. See, avoidants crave space. They often retreat not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. They protect themselves by pulling away, by hiding behind walls of independence. But when you're mysterious, when you don't hand them the full map of who you are, you become something they can't easily file away. Instead of being predictable, you remain intriguing. Instead of being overly available, you are present but not fully revealed. And this is powerful because curiosity is the bridge to longing. Let me paint this for you. Imagine you text an avoidant every time you think of them, pouring out your heart, explaining every detail of your feelings, your whereabouts, your thoughts. At first, they may enjoy the attention, but soon, it becomes overwhelming. They already struggle with closeness, and now you're giving them everything with no space left for them to wonder, no room for them to imagine. It's like finishing the last chapter of a book in the first 5 minutes. You remove all the excitement. But now picture the opposite. Imagine you're calm, grounded, living your life, not over-explaining, not rushing to prove yourself. You show pieces of who you are, but hold back just enough that they're left with questions. What's on their mind? Who are they becoming? Why do they seem so different? That quiet mystery begins to echo in the avoidant's thoughts. They can't quite figure you out, and that keeps them hooked. Mystery isn't about manipulation, it's about presence. It's about letting your actions, your energy, and your growth speak louder than constant words. It's about not being available 24/7, not rushing to answer every text, not making your whole world orbit around them. It's about showing them that you are your own person, with your own story, and that they are only privileged to witness parts of it if they choose to lean in. There's an old saying, the most beautiful things are not seen with the eyes, but felt with the heart. And mystery is exactly that. It allows someone to feel you, sense you, long for you, even when you're not in front of them. Avoidants, though they may resist closeness, cannot resist the allure of the unknown. Your mystery makes you unforgettable, because in their quiet moments, their mind will keep returning to you, trying to solve the puzzle you've become. So remember this. Don't overshare, don't over-explain, don't hand out the blueprint of your soul too quickly. Be real, but let them discover you in layers. Because when you remain a little mysterious, you don't just walk through their mind, you live there. Number 2. Your energy of self-worth, 500 plus words. Let me tell you something that can completely shift the way someone thinks about you. Your energy introduces you before you even speak. It's the unspoken language of confidence, the invisible aura that radiates when you know who you are and what you deserve. And when it comes to an avoidant, your energy of self-worth is one of the most powerful forces that can make them think about you long after you've left the room. See, here's the truth. Avoidants often pull away not because you're not worthy, but because deep down, they struggle with intimacy. They fear being consumed, controlled, or losing their independence. And when they sense that someone is clinging too tightly, chasing too desperately, or depending entirely on them for validation, it triggers those fears and they retreat even further. But when you show up with the energy of self-worth, the entire dynamic changes. Self-worth says, I am whole. I am valuable. I am a gift. It's not arrogance. It's not pride. It's a quiet, powerful recognition of your own light. And when you carry that energy, the avoidant feels it. They sense that you are not begging for their attention, not pleading for their love, but simply offering your presence as something they can choose to embrace. Imagine 2 different versions of you. In one version, you're constantly reaching out, checking in, asking, do you still care about me? Do you still want me? Am I enough for you? That energy, no matter how sincere, communicates insecurity. It tells the avoidant that you need them more than they need you, and to an avoidant, that feels heavy, like chains pressing against their freedom. But in the second version, you are calm. You are radiant. You live your life fully, working on your passions, nurturing your friendships, growing as a person. You don't need to prove yourself because you know your worth. And when you interact with them, it's not from a place of desperation, but from a place of choice. Your energy says, I am happy with myself, and I am inviting you to share in that happiness if you choose to. That energy is magnetic. It's intoxicating. Because avoidants, despite their walls, are deeply drawn to people who don't need them, but who choose them. Your self-worth becomes the mirror that shows them what they stand to lose. And trust me, nothing forces an avoidant to think about you more than the realization that you are not waiting on them to complete you. You are already complete. There's a beautiful quote that says, you attract what you believe you deserve. And when you live in the energy of self-worth, you attract respect, you attract curiosity, and you attract attention, even from someone who tries to avoid closeness. They may not admit it out loud, but deep inside, they'll think, how is this person so strong, so centered? Why am I still thinking about them when I thought I could just walk away? Your worth is not negotiable. It's not up for debate. It's not something that someone else gets to define. It's an energy you embody, a light you carry, a truth you live. And when you do, the avoidant cannot ignore it. You stay in their mind not as someone chasing, but as someone shining. So hold your head high, my friend. Know who you are. Stand tall in your worth. Because when you do, you don't just make an avoidant think about you. You make them rethink everything they believed about you. Number 3. The echo of shared moments. 500 plus words. Have you ever noticed how a single memory can pull you back into a feeling as if no time has passed? A song plays on the radio and suddenly you're transported to that night when laughter spilled out effortlessly between you. A scent drifts through the air and you're right back in the warmth of a hug that felt like home. That's the power of shared moments. They don't disappear. They echo. And when it comes to someone with avoidant tendencies, those echoes can be stronger than they let on. Avoidance may try to detach, but here's the truth. Detachment doesn't erase memory. It doesn't erase the sweetness of your voice when you whispered their name, the way your eyes softened when you looked at them, or the silly joke you made that had them laughing uncontrollably. They may try to convince themselves they don't need closeness, but closeness has already left its fingerprint on their heart. And fingerprints, my friend, don't fade easily. Think about it. When you shared moments with them, whether it was something grand like traveling together or something simple like holding hands in silence, those experiences became part of their internal world. Even if they avoid intimacy, they cannot erase the imprint of connection. And often, it's not the big moments that haunt them. It's the small, unexpected ones. The way you remembered how they liked their coffee. The way you made them laugh when they were having a bad day. The way you touched their arm lightly. And for a moment, they felt safe. Here's the paradox. Avoidants crave space, but what they can't escape are the echoes of intimacy. And the more you live your life with peace, the more those echoes grow louder in their quiet moments. When the world slows down, when they're lying awake at night, scrolling through their phone, or sitting alone in silence, those shared memories sneak in like a whisper. And that whisper carries your name. You see, the heart has no delete button. It remembers what was real. And when you stop chasing, when you stop forcing, those memories become even sharper in their mind. They begin to wonder, do they still think of me? Do they remember that night? Do they miss me like I miss them? And that wondering is the seed of reconnection. There's a beautiful truth in this. Love isn't always about constant presence. Sometimes, love lingers in the echoes. Sometimes, love breathes in the spaces in between. And while an avoidant may run from closeness, they can't run from themselves. They can't run from the way your laughter felt like light. They can't run from the memory of you showing up when they didn't even know how to ask for help. So don't underestimate the power of what you've shared. Don't assume that because they're silent, they've forgotten. No, my friend, those shared moments are alive within them, replaying in flashes, reminding them of the bond that once was. And here's the most beautiful part. When you continue to grow, when you continue to shine, those echoes don't just stay as memories. They transform into longing. They begin to realize that no matter how much they try to detach, the best parts of their past have your name written on them. Because real moments, true connection, do not vanish. They echo. And those echoes force even the most guarded avoidant to think of you, again and again, in ways they never expected. Number 4. The grace of silence, 500 plus words. Silence. At first, it feels heavy. It feels like rejection, like abandonment, like a void too wide to cross. But what if I told you that silence is not emptiness? What if I told you silence is presence in disguise, an energy that can be louder than words, a force that can echo in the mind of an avoidant long after the noise has faded? Avoidants are used to people chasing them. They're used to the constant stream of texts, the pleading for reassurance, the late-night calls filled with, "Do you still care? Where are we? Why are you pulling away?" To them, that pursuit feels suffocating. It affirms their deepest fear, that love means losing freedom. And so, the more they are chased, the further they retreat. But when you step back, when you allow silence to fill the space instead of your chasing, something extraordinary happens. The silence doesn't just sit there, it speaks. It makes them wonder. It forces them to ask questions in their own mind. Where did they go? Why aren't they reaching out? Do they not care anymore? Have I lost them? This is the paradox of silence. What feels like absence to you becomes presence to them. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting back their own feelings, their own fears, their own longings. And because avoidants are often running from their emotions, that silence doesn't allow them to escape. It makes them confront what they're trying to avoid. Think about it. Imagine they're used to your good morning texts, your check-ins throughout the day, your constant reassurance. And suddenly, silence. No texts, no explanations. Just you, living your life, grounded, peaceful. At first, they may breathe in relief, thinking, finally, space. But then the mind starts wandering. What are they doing? Who are they with? Why am I still thinking about them? The silence begins to stir something inside them that no amount of chasing ever could. This doesn't mean silence is a weapon. It's not about punishing or manipulating. It's about grace. It's about choosing peace over panic. It's about showing them, without words, that you respect yourself enough not to beg for attention, and you respect them enough to give them the space they crave. That kind of silence isn't cold. It's powerful. It radiates dignity. And let me tell you something. Dignity is unforgettable. When you can walk away from the noise, when you can lean into silence with strength, you send a message louder than any speech. I am whole. I am not afraid of your distance. And I trust that if you want me, you will come back on your own. Avoidance may not say it, but silence unsettles them in the most profound way. Because for once, they are not in control of the distance. You are. For once, they are left to wonder instead of you. And that wondering, that quiet tug at the back of their mind, forces them to think of you in ways they never expected. There's a timeless quote that says, "Silence is a source of great strength." And in love, it's true. Silence isn't giving up. It's leaning back into your power. It's trusting that real connection doesn't need to be chased. It simply needs to be allowed. So embrace the grace of silence. Stop filling every gap with noise. Stop explaining every absence. Stop chasing after answers. Just be still. Just be. Because in that stillness, the avoidance thoughts will wander, and more often than not, they'll wander right back to you. Number 5. The glow of transformation, 500 plus words. One of the most powerful ways to live in someone's mind, especially an avoidant, is to transform, to rise, to evolve into a version of yourself that they never saw coming. Because nothing makes someone think about you more than realizing that you are no longer who they left behind. You are becoming someone greater, someone brighter, someone they cannot ignore. You see, avoidants often walk away believing they can come back whenever they want. They assume you'll be the same person, waiting, unchanged, holding the same space for them. But when you embrace transformation, you shatter that expectation. You become living proof that while they were hiding from intimacy, you were busy becoming more radiant, more confident, more alive. Think about this. Maybe you were once dependent on them for reassurance, clinging to every text, waiting for their approval. And now, you've shifted. You've found joy in your own company. You've built strength, pursued passions, maybe even changed your appearance, your habits, your energy. You no longer vibrate with neediness. You radiate self-love. That glow, that transformation, is impossible to forget. Why? Because transformation creates contrast, and contrast is what wakes people up. The avoidant remembers the version of you they knew, the one who maybe tolerated too much, who was always available, who put them at the center of everything. But now, you've grown, you've bloomed, and suddenly, they are forced to see the distance between who you were and who you've become. That gap forces them to think of you, to wonder about you, to question why they ever let you slip away. And here's the deeper truth. Your transformation is not about them. It's about you. It's about choosing to grow because you deserve it. Because you're not meant to stay stuck in patterns of waiting, longing, or proving yourself. Growth is the most profound act of self-love. And when you embody it, it not only changes you, it changes how others see you. Picture this. The avoidant scrolls through their phone and sees a picture of you laughing, glowing, surrounded by friends, radiating peace. You look different, not just physically, but energetically. There's a lightness about you, a freedom. And in that moment, a thought pierces through their guarded walls. They don't need me anymore. But why do I still need them? That's the paradox of transformation. It flips the script. It shifts the balance of power. Because now, instead of you thinking about them all the time, they are the one thinking of you. Not because you begged for attention, but because your growth demands it. And let me remind you, transformation doesn't mean you have to become someone completely new. It simply means you become more of who you truly are. It's shedding the old fears, the insecurities, the patterns that held you back. It's embracing the truth that you are worthy, beautiful, and capable of creating joy with or without anyone else. There's a saying, the best revenge is massive success. And when it comes to love, success isn't about proving them wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about rising so high in your own growth that your glow forces the world, including the avoidant, to take notice. So rise, transform, step into the fullness of who you are becoming. Because your glow is not just light, it's a force. And that force will make them think of you in ways they cannot escape. 6. The unshakable peace you carry, 500 plus words. Peace. It is one of the rarest gifts in this chaotic world. While most people are running, proving, chasing, and grasping for attention, there are very few who carry true calm within themselves. And that's exactly why peace is magnetic. It doesn't scream for attention, it draws it quietly. It doesn't push, it pulls. And when it comes to avoidance, your unshakable peace is like gravity. It forces them to think of you, even when they're trying not to. Here's the truth. Avoidants often thrive in chaos, not because they enjoy it, but because it gives them a reason to keep their guard up. They're used to drama, used to intensity, used to people who overwhelm them with demands. That storm of energy reinforces their fears about closeness. They say to themselves, see, this is why I need to keep distance. But then comes you, the one who is different, the one who doesn't chase with panic, the one who doesn't try to control or demand. Instead, you radiate calm. You embody a presence that says, I am at peace with myself, and you are free to step closer or walk away. That kind of peace is disarming. It unsettles the avoidant, not in a bad way, but in a way that makes them stop and think. Why? Because peace is not what they expect. They expect neediness. They expect chaos. They expect to feel trapped. But instead, your peace offers them something they secretly crave, safety. And when someone becomes your safe harbor, you don't forget them. You think of them over and over, because in a world of storms, they are your shelter. Imagine this. After pulling away, after creating distance, the avoidant checks to see if you're still waiting, still hurting, still reaching out in desperation. But instead, what they find is silence, calm, and grace. They see you living your life, centered, steady, not broken but whole. That image plants itself in their mind. And while they may not admit it, they'll begin to think, how can they be so calm? How can they be so okay without me? That thought creates a shift. Because peace is power. It's strength disguised as softness. It's saying, I don't need to fight for your attention because my worth doesn't depend on your presence. And let me tell you, when you carry that kind of unshakable peace, you become unforgettable. There's a timeless truth. People remember how you made them feel. And when your presence brings calm instead of chaos, ease instead of pressure, lightness instead of heaviness, you leave a permanent mark on the heart. Avoidants, though they fear intimacy, are still human. They still long for love, for safety, for home. And when your peace embodies that, you become the very thing they can't stop thinking about. So cultivate it, protect it, nurture it. Peace doesn't come from waiting on someone else to choose you. It comes from choosing yourself. It comes from grounding yourself in your worth, in your growth, in your light. And the more you embody that, the more you force even the most guarded avoidant to feel your presence, even in your absence. Because peace is unforgettable. And your peace, my friend, is the kind of quiet power that will echo in their mind long after the noise has faded. Number 7. The way you love them without chains, 500+ words. There's a kind of love that lingers long after the words are spoken, long after the touch fades, long after the presence is gone. It's the kind of love that doesn't bind, doesn't suffocate, doesn't demand, it liberates. And that, my friend, is the love that avoidants never forget. Because while they run from control, they cannot run from freedom. And nothing forces an avoidant to think about you more than remembering the way you love them without chains. See, avoidants fear being trapped. They fear that intimacy will consume their identity, that closeness will rob them of their independence. They've often learned, somewhere along the way, that love means loss of freedom. And so they push away, not because they don't feel, but because they fear feeling too much. But when you come along and show them that love doesn't have to be a prison, that love can be spacious, gentle, and freeing, you give them something they've likely never experienced before. Think about it. Most people, when they feel someone pulling away, grip tighter. They beg, they demand, they cling, they try to convince the avoidant to stay. And what does that do? It confirms the avoidant's fears. See? Love means losing myself. Love means pressure. Love means chains. But you, when you chose to love them differently, you broke the cycle. You gave them space when they needed it. You respected their need for distance, while still showing warmth. You didn't force connection, you invited it. You didn't demand they open up, you created safety so they wanted to. That kind of love doesn't just fade into the background, it imprints on the soul. There's a saying, love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. And when your love for them reflected this truth, you planted yourself in their memory in a way that no controlling love ever could. Because while others tried to hold them down, you let them breathe. While others tried to change them, you accepted them. And while others made them feel trapped, you made them feel free. Here's the beauty of love without chains. It allows them to miss you. It gives them the freedom to step away without guilt, but also the freedom to come back without fear. And when they remember that feeling, the feeling of being loved, not controlled, they will think of you again and again. Because that kind of love is rare. That kind of love is unforgettable. Imagine them lying awake at night, replaying the way you laughed at their jokes, the way you looked at them without judgment, the way you gave them space without making them feel unloved. That memory becomes a quiet ache, a longing. Because deep down, every human soul craves love that feels safe. And you gave them that, even if they couldn't handle it at the time. So don't underestimate the way you love them. Don't assume that because they pulled away, it wasn't felt. No, your love was felt. It was seen. It was known. And it will echo inside of them long after silence has set in. Because at the end of the day, love without chains is the strongest love of all. It's the love that doesn't demand to be remembered, yet always is. It's the love that doesn't force itself to stay, yet never leaves the heart. And that, my friend, is why the way you love them, freely, gently, without chains, will forever force an avoidant to think of you. So remember this, you don't force yourself into someone's heart by holding tighter. You carve yourself into their memory by the way you live, the way you love, the way you let go with grace. These 7 things aren't about manipulation, they're about truth. About becoming so radiant, so free, so unforgettable that even an avoidant cannot outrun your presence. And if you've ever doubted it, hear me now. The love you gave, the light you shared, the soul you revealed, those things don't vanish. They echo. They live. They force their way back into the mind of the one who walked away. So shine, rise, love without fear, and watch how they'll never stop thinking about you. Thank you, my friends. Until next time, take care of your heart and never forget your worth.